Hey everyone, welcome to the next edition of the Daily Bullet. I'm Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. As you can see, joining me here today, Rhonda Ezell. She is, the main person behind Ezell versus Chicago, and we're going to talk about that at length in just a few minutes. But Rhonda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Paul. Congratulations on the move to the Second Amendment Foundation.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It was coming for a while, but I'm glad it happened when it did. But we're here to kind of talk about you today. Everybody should be familiar with me. If anybody's been to Gun Rights Policy Conference over the past several years, they've seen you around. And some of us are lucky enough to have gotten to know you a bit, but you gained notoriety in the Second Amendment community by suing the city of Chicago. Let me start off with the very basics. For somebody who may not have heard of you, may not know what you did, which is awesome, by the way, could you let everybody know why you sued the city of Chicago and everything leading up to the victory?
Absolutely. I got involved with if Chicago is post McDonald, Otis McDonald, along with David and Colin, Chicago for. And when that case had been won, a historical landmark victory, I was complying with that new ordinance. Okay, now that you can have a gun in the home, you guys must get training, and you must and get some live range training as well. So, I was complying with that. Mm-hmm. The city did not have a gun range available for law-abiding citizens, and I found myself going outside of the city to do so. So that is basically how it got started.
Okay.
In a nutshell, so, complying with the new ordinance, we can have a gun in the home, sign up for a class and a course to find out, they prohibited gun ranges at the same time. So they mandated the training, but yet they prohibited the ranges at the same time. So we had to take them to court for that.
Well, and now what you sued them, what year was it that you started the suit?
I started my suit in 2010.
Okay. So 2010, there were no gun ranges in Chicago. How far would you have had to have gone to get that training?
Absolutely. There's no ranges available in the city of Chicago for. They have some secret ranges in certain locations, but they don't utilize them. But I found myself traveling about 60 miles outside of the city just to comply with the new ordinance, and found that to be kind of strange. So I reached out to the Illinois State Rifle Association, which I'm a lifetime member of, and I said, hey guys, these are the things that I had to go through to comply with this new ordinance. Breaking it down, explaining it to them because it was fresh, it was new, no one knew what to do after the McDonald victory, how to go about really gaining that license to have in your hand, so to make sure that if you do have, you would be covered based on the new law. So reaching out to them to get some information and explaining to them the things that I went through, came to the conclusion that my rights had been violated in the process. And we got into litigation with the city.
Yeah. Now, 60 miles outside the city, people need to understand that 60 miles in Chicago could be anywhere from a 2 to 3 hour drive.
Absolutely. Depending on wherever, because it actually was a long drive for me per se, because I had just beaten life support and learned how to walk and things of that nature. As good as I used to be behind the wheel of a car, but I was still able to drive. But it was tough getting there. So it took me a very long time to actually get to the location. And that was one of the things that I talked about when I spoke with the Illinois State Rifle Association, because I was under the impression that when we took the class, we would go downstairs in that building, in that the written portion of the class, but we did not. We were instructed to go to a different location the next day. And so that therefore I found myself traveling outside of the city to do so. And it took forever. It felt like eternity for me, of course, because my situation was different.
Sure. Sure. So you've just to summarize, McDonald has happened, and now that you're able to get concealed carry permits, and the lengths you have to go to are rather extreme. So you and the ISRA take the state of Illinois, more specifically the city of Chicago, to court. And how long did it take for that case to go through and actually be decided in your favor?
Well, one small correction, Paul, on what you stated. The McDonald case was for the right to own a gun inside of the home. Concealed carry has yet to begun. So that case came after the second Ezell case. But nevertheless, I filed the first lawsuit in 2010. It took a year to actually complete that first lawsuit, because that was the initial lawsuit filing for the right to have a gun range built in the city of Chicago. And not only was it just to have a range built, it were several things that we needed to knock down, because the city had loaded up a whole ton of things that they wanted to happen. They wanted to restrict gun ranges to manufacturing districts. They wanted to say that the owner of a gun range couldn't sell firearms. They couldn't sell ammunition. They wanted to make sure that it wasn't a gun store inside of this gun range. And those things had to be eliminated. And we did that with Ezell versus Chicago in the first case. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that had taken place in that first case, and that took a year. Okay.
So then now we get to Ezell versus Chicago 2. What was the purpose with that one?
The purpose of Ezell versus Chicago 2 was that the city was so upset because with Ezell 1, they tried to moot the case. They tried to jump the gun. And of course, Rahm Emanuel and Mayor Daley, these are the people that I had to go up against with Ezell 1 and 2. We're trying to moot the case, and unfortunately, because they knew they were losing. So Ezell 2 came about with more shenanigans, where you can and can't place a gun range 500 feet from a school, a church, ton of zoning requirements, hours of operations. Mm-hmm. The owner to have a FOIA card, the business owner. I mean, I don't know if the business owner that owns restaurant eat the food that they sell, but it's a business operation. And as well as they wanted to restrict the age of a minor going to a gun range. And those are all things that we did in Ezell versus Chicago too. So again, the city loses, they're upset, they come back, they say, okay, now that you won the first one, just because you can have a ranch, we're going to make it more less comfortable for you guys. We're going to put in restrictions so that we prevent you from even building this thing and have less than 1 or 2% of the area to do it within the city. And those are the things that they tried to do.
Well, and so now you sued the city of Chicago twice. You're 2 for 2, right? You've got
2 for 2.
You've got victories in them both, and you became. And I don't mind. I don't mean to blow smoke where it don't belong, but you, in the process, you became a little bit of a rock star to those of us who are activists in the Second Amendment community. Have you? Has this affected, outside of now being able to go to a range that? And by the way, are there any ranges now in Chicago?
Anything, we have yet to have a range built. No one has taken those 2 historical landmark victories and utilized them. The cases have been fought, the cases have been won, and the foundation has been laid, but no one has invested. Not to say that it won't ever happen, but right now with today's climate, things are a little bit shaky. But one thing I can say about the Ezell versus Chicago case is it's more than about Chicago. It's more than about Rhonda Ezell. It is about America. Because if you pay attention to the dissent in Cantor versus Barr, where Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she actually cited both of my cases in her dissent, stating that she did not agree with people that did not have violent felons losing their rights. And she based that off of some things in my cases. And so it's way much more than just Chicago or Rhonda Ezell. The case has been cited several times across the country. I mean, the McDonald case is a historical landmark case that was actually a Supreme Court victory. We know Heller and McDonald cases are the 1-2 punch, and the Ezell case is kind of coming along there, making its way in there. And when we see these cases cited in other states and cities moving Second Amendment rights forward, that is the beauty of what we do. When you stand up for the rights, you stand up for the rights of all Americans, not some.
Absolutely. Now, I want to point out how I don't want to sound like I'm just giving you false compliments, but I want to, for people who may have not have met you, for people who don't know you, like people who are advocates in Second Amendment arena do, you are not a super rich person. You're not, before Ezell, you were not very influential. You are just an everyday person living in an everyday neighborhood in Chicago. And you took on the city and you kicked their behind twice.
I did. I may not have been influential in the Second Amendment community, but I was very influential in my regular everyday life. I'm not a rich person. I've worked all of my life. I worked since I was a little girl up until the time I lost my health. So I did put in work, and I've worked a very long time. I did get a little bit of extra notoriety once I got into the Second Amendment community, but I'll have to kind of balance it here with what I used to do. But that's the beauty about people not knowing everything about you, Paul. The Second Amendment community is a great community, and I'm glad that I got the opportunity to be a part of it. But most importantly, for people that don't know who I am, they can always go to our website at chicagogunsmatter.org and find that out. But what they need to know is if they don't know who the Second Amendment Foundation is, that's who they need to know, because the Second Amendment Foundation, they came on board, they supported these cases, they paid for these cases to be fought in federal court and at the Supreme Court level, and it takes money and finances for that. So if you're watching this and you don't know who the Second Amendment Foundation is, go to their website, Second Amendment. Is it SAF.org?
Yeah, it is, SAF.org.
And join and get a membership, because these cases cost money. And it's more than the plaintiffs. But on our end, with Chicago Guns Matter, what we wanted to do with that also was put faces to the cases, so that we're not just household names. We're regular people. We're human beings. And we wanted to make sure that we humanize the cases and not just be a household name amongst people in the gun community. When they say your name, Ezell or McDonald, I had it happen. I was in a training class, and I sat back for the very reason of not saying anything and listening. And as they discussed my case, I never told them who I was until we got on the range and started training. And then my name came up, and someone said, "Why didn't you say that was you? Oh my God, that's you." I'm like, I'm fine with that. I'm very humble about it. So, it's nothing that I'm bragging about. It's work that's been put in for the American people. It is to make sure that we keep our freedoms and we prevent tyranny from our government. And it's about just keeping your head on straight and staying in the game.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time today, but before we go, I want you to talk a little bit about Chicago Guns Matter and what that is and what you do there.
Chicago Guns Matter is the plaintiffs that stood up against the political powers to be. We went through litigation, and we beat the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois to restore gun rights to the city for law-abiding citizens. We were the last ones in the nation to get concealed carry, and it took a ton of litigation to do so. So what we wanted to do was make sure that we could put all the cases together, put a human face to those cases, put it all on a website so that we can educate the general public. They can go through there and there's a ton of information. Becoming a gun owner, or they can look through each case and see what took place there. They can send us an email if they have questions about their FOIA cards or their concealed carry licenses, and we're going to make sure that we get the answer for them, or we get them to the right people. So the notion of having a website to educate the people on all the work that was done leading from zero firearm ownership to shall issue concealed carry, it's huge. So that's what that platform is for them to go over there, log on, and take a look and identify with the individuals that are responsible for restoring their rights.
Very cool. Well, we are out of time today. Rhonda, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us.
Paul, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right. Folks, if you would, please subscribe to the channel. And when you do, hit that notification bell so you know when we release a new video, which we'll be doing tomorrow. Thanks again for watching.